The Under the Red Hood story arc explores this question fully with its movie and comic confrontation. The whole it's him or me thing that Jason tries to violently force Bruce into, that the man awkwardly and violently replies to by saying that it's neither. But that scene ends before we get a real answer to the question. In fact, instead of telling us what things caused Jason Todd's death and who was responsible for what happened in death in the family, it talks about the next steps. So I'm stepping up to answer this question once and for all, so I can really tell us and conclude for all of us who have been kind of like, this debate is going on and on and on and on, and it feels like the comics never really come to some kind of natural conclusion about this question about who is to blame for Jason Todd's death. And if you have any time, check out the description. Thank you. So why did Jason die and who was responsible? Well, one reason that I think is somewhat plausible, somewhat arguable, some people believe this and some people argue this, is that Jason was irresponsible. Jason didn't listen to Bruce's instructions not to go after Sheila, his mum that he never met and only met now because of this random trip that they had because of an argument and everything. He went after her and subsequently she handed him over to the Joker. If he just listened, if he just followed instructions from what Bruce was saying and he was more accepting of the fact that he doesn't know everything and that he needs to be cautious with his life and careful with his life, he would have been fine. You know, he's 16. Being irresponsible is something that a 16-year-old should know not to be. A 16-year-old should be able to control those impulses and to be rational. I mean, 16 is not exactly a child anymore, if you understand what I'm saying. So ultimately, Jason died of his immaturity and because of his disobedience. So taking this into account, taking Jason's actions into account and how that directly led to his death, who is to blame for his death? I mean, naturally, you would think it would be Jason. No, it's not Jason. It's the Joker. He was working with Jason's deadbeat mom, beat Jason with a crowbar and then blew him up. That's like saying a girl who wore a miniskirt and went out late at night was begging and is at fault for being abused or hurt or assaulted. Or even if you think the main reason Jason died was because he didn't listen, the blame and fault for his death is still in the Joker's hands because the Joker is the one who killed him. And that's why we should consider that maybe the reason that Jason died wasn't because he was disobedient. We must think about other reasons. You know, the second reason why he died is Bruce was the one who put him into the field. So arguably Jason died because he was put into a incredibly dangerous situation and incredibly dangerous circumstances where he believed he was capable because his dad's influence and his training. He believed that he was, you know, he's Robin. He's strong enough for this. He's strong enough to handle this. And frankly, it's abuse. You could argue it's physical abuse or it's neglect to allow the child into these constant scenarios where he's constantly fighting and for what you call as justice, and you're using him. You've made him a child soldier, and these actions that gave him this false sense of confidence, because like we said, 16 isn't a child, but 16 is certainly not an adult either, gave Jason this kind of level of confidence that made him walk in after Sheila in the hopes of saving her and then becoming a victim himself, you know. So ultimately, this is the main reason why he died. And so naturally, who was responsible for his death? The Joker. He was working with Jason's deadbeat mom, beat Jason to a pulp with a crowbar, and then blew him up. The Joker's at fault again. The Joker's at fault, even though Bruce and Jason did actions that potentially contributed to his death. Blaming Bruce would be like saying that he literally took Jason to the warehouse and told him not to resist. If these two other things don't matter, then maybe reason 3 matters, because, you know, Sheila was working with the Joker all along. If she hadn't lured Jason to the Joker immediately after finding out that her long lost son was Robin, he wouldn't have died. He wouldn't have even gone over there if she wasn't there and if he wasn't worried for her. It was really her fault, especially that betrayal that she's done. So ultimately, these actions that she took to manipulate her son and to also preserve her own self led to his death. So who's to blame? And if we're considering then this was actually the main reason that he died, or even just a big reason as well as the others, and but there's still someone who should take most of the blame, even while acknowledging how awful she was. And it's the Joker. He was working with Jason's deadbeat mom, beat Jason to a pulp with a crowbar, and then blew him up. It's the Joker. Because while she's definitely an accomplice and helped to kill him off, she is not the murderer. So there's one more reason I wanted to raise with the class here. One more reason I wanted to explain and express here that indicates why Jason died and whose fault it actually is. Because these other reasons, they're not really getting to the flavor that we need. We're not getting getting the real fundamental understanding of what's going on. Fourth reason is the situation. Everything was a mess at that time. It was a combination of faults, you know. Realistically, neither Bruce nor Jason trusted each other enough after the whole false accusations thing in just before Death in the Family, where Bruce thought that Jason killed a serial rapist, Felipe Gonzalez, and so they were already distant from each other. That's the whole reason why Jason even flew out in the first place, why Bruce was thinking about sacking him in the first place and worried about him and confused, and everything was going to shit, you know. And on another note, realistically, Sheila has no reason to betray her alliance with the Joker for a kid she doesn't know. I mean, realistically, the situation itself was just not great, and she chose to do that, you know, out of the fact that the situation was already bad and there was no point in stopping this from happening. I mean, she wasn't smiling like very happy when it was happening. She was smoking, but she wasn't, you know, very glad. And in a lot of iterations, she also dies with Jason. So who knows? I mean, it's not like she was Harley Quinn actively tying him down, you know. The situation is just the problem. So who's to blame? This is where we get the real answer. This is where we get the real understanding of the fact that it's not as simple as Jason's actions. He was being immature. It's not as simple as Bruce was putting his son in harm's way. It's not as simple as Sheila was selling him out for the Joker. It is the situation that was to blame for the situation, which was set up by DC writers who created the Joker. He was working with Jason's deadbeat mom, beat Jason to a pulp with a crowbar, and then blew him up. Ultimately, the Joker is the reason why Jason died, and he is the one to blame for his death. Yeah, that's all this video is. I just wanted to say that, in essence, all of these reasons are nonsense. The Joker is why Jason died. I hate the argument of, oh, Jason, it's the Joker. No, blame the Joker for the Joker's actions. Bruce is not, listen, Bruce had oversight. Bruce did something that could put his son in harm's way. Jason also shouldn't have gone after her. It was stupid. He should have listened to his dad. But obviously he felt bad for her. Sheila is a bit, you know, more at fault because she actually took an active part. Ultimately, she's not the one beating him. She's not the one blowing him up. She also died in some iterations almost. I don't even know. It's the Joker. Blame the Joker, please. Stop blaming these characters. I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of it. He's a villain for a reason. You're allowed to be angry at him. You're allowed to blame him, please. He worked with Jason's deadbeat mom, beat Jason to a pulp with a crowbar, and then blew him up. Nobody else did that. Only one person did that. It's his fault, okay? He's responsible for Jason Todd's death. So all in all, he's the one to blame. Yeah. Let me know why you agree and not if in the comments. If you want to watch any other Bat Family videos I make, feel free to. Then I say a quirky goodbye, Janyong. This was probably one of the shortest videos I've ever made. Just needed to get this off my chest. This was not supposed to be a video essay. I'm sure you guys were saying, what kind of video essay? Like, oh my god, wow, I'm so excited for this detailed. No, the Joker killed him. That's it. Full stop. End of quotation marks. We're finished. Please just blame the supervillain, insane psycho killer murderer. Just blame him, okay? No one else except for maybe Cheetah, because she did, you know. But you know, still mostly him.